Pecron is making waves with this new E3600. This unit is incredibly cheap for what you get, and not to mention the expansion capabilities and the price really make this something you should consider. Now at the time of this video and launch, this is coming in at $1,599, and you can expand this to 15.4 kilowatt hours by adding 4 batteries, with each battery only costing $1,100 roughly. This only comes in at about $5,600 for a 15.4 kilowatt system by utilizing the launch pricing and discounts, which makes this incredibly cheap, which really makes you think, is it really worth buying some of the other competitors out there now? Now, I first saw this at the CES show in January, where this was displayed as a prototype, and they had now just released it just a couple weeks ago, and it is full with a ton of features I think most people are going to like, especially since Pecron has been listening to customer feedback, also reviewers like us, so they've really put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into this unit. So let me show you some of the things that it does. Now this does come with a 3600 watt inverter. It is 120 volts, but by adding 2 units, you can expand this to a 240 volt system by utilizing a double voltage hub. This then would allow you to power up like transfer switches, or putting it directly into your home power panel by utilizing a generator inlet box and more. So this makes it great for if you want to utilize it for home backup, or if you're an RVer like myself, this also gives you a lot of possibilities for utilizing it in an RV to power it up if you are boondocking or off-grid situations and more. Now this is going to come with a capacity of 3,072 watt hours, and again 3600 watt inverter. I'm going to show you some of the test data that I did, show you what kind of capacity I got out of this, and also some of the other features that this has. The main unit will come in at 78 pounds, while each extra battery is 57 pounds. When getting this out of the box, it will come with a nice accessory case to carry all of your cables. This will include your owner's manual and also an AC charging cable. This is good for 1800 watts at 120 volts. You also have an MC4 cable with an XT60 connection on it, so you can solar charge this into one of the inputs, or you can use this parallel cable, which you can then put into each input for parallel operations. It also has battery cables for battery charging, along with a small screwdriver. This is so you can make adjustments for battery numbering. It'll also come with a 12-volt socket car charging adapter, along with also this little pamphlet. This is going to come with stickers to number your batteries, also some glow-in-the-dark stickers for the AC and DC on and off, and information to connect to the app. If you buy another battery, it will come with another accessory case to keep all of your cables in. The new extra battery cable has twisting ends on it and is super flexible. It also comes with an MC4 cable to charge the battery separately. It'll also come with this 12-volt plug, so you can charge it with a 12-volt socket. They also included this Anderson cable, so you could charge up to 30 amps. And you also have this other cable with a 5521 barrel port for another way of charging up the extra battery. It also comes with a couple cables, so you can charge devices like this one with a 12-volt socket and 5521, along with some jumper cables so you can charge a battery. And it will come with a manual along with connection hardware to secure the battery to the main unit. Now this is something I like, but is not included. You'll have to order this separately, but it's a 120 volt 30 amp charging cable. No other power station of this size has this type of feature, so this I think is something that is really cool that they added to this unit. If we take a look at the DC inputs, you have a 12 to 30 volt. This is for 12 volt charging or small solar panel. Then you have 32 to 150 volt, which these are XT60 connectors for a total of 2400 watts or 1200 watts each. It's so nice to see that they did 150 volt max limit versus 60, which makes solar configurations hard. When looking at the DC out, you have a 12 volt 30 amp outlet, which this would be great for diesel heaters and more. You also have a 5521 barrel port that can provide up to 5 amps, along with a 12 volt socket, good for about 10 amps. There are also several USB-Cs and A's, so you can charge up several devices at either 100 watts or 18 watts, which you do have 2 USB-Cs and then 4 USB-A ports to charge up all kinds of smart devices. You do have 4 20 amp AC outlets, so a total of 3600 watts between all 4 of them, but not a single outlet will provide that. And then you do have a TTR30 or travel trailer 30 amp plug, which this is something I do like. On the left side of the unit is where you'll find your reset button, also data cable. If you connect 2 of these together, they can talk to each other along with a grounding lug. Also AC input for both of your AC cords up to 1800 watts or 3200 watts max charging. On the other side of the unit is where you'll find the exhaust fans, where so far this has been extremely quiet, along with also 2 battery ports so you can expand and add up to 4 batteries. Now the display is super simple to navigate around, and we could spend 10 minutes here, but I'm just going to show you a quick overview. But this gives you all kinds of information like the battery health. You can simply go back and then check out input and output settings and adjust this accordingly as needed. You can also check out all of your system settings, and you can also change from either Celsius or Fahrenheit. Simple mode is actually kind of a nice feature. You simply go in. There's no touch or functionality anymore though on the screen. Everything would be push button, or you can control things in the app. You can still use the AC and DC button to turn on and off DC or AC functions, but of course screen functionality is gone. But you can simply just go back and then go into the more complicated mode, which this will then show you all kinds of features. I do like how much information they give you. Like if you go here, you can then check out your output power, see which AC or DC functions are on or off, AC and DC inputs and more, and also shows you your frequency. That way if it's dropping too much, you know that it's getting some distortion, and also shows you inverter temperatures, but right now it is on Celsius. So you can change that in the app. You just go back to the home button, and then we'll go over here to system settings, go to page 2, and now we can switch this over to Fahrenheit for us Americans, but I know all you other guys like Celsius because we're just kind of crazy over here living in the Wild West. But again, turning on AC and DC functions are capable through the app or on the screen. Lots of information, which I do like, and also this right here. This shows you what your solar array is doing, so how many volts DC, also the amps for the combined wattage. So just nice information to have to kind of see what's going on, and also to make sure you're not putting in too many volts into your power station so you don't blow it up. And here is a quick look at the app. That way if you wanted to see what it looks like and you do have good control and functions over it, you can turn on and off AC or DC output, so plenty of functionality within the app. And they included 2 wireless charging pads on top of the unit. Now, one of the things I really like with the Pecron Extra battery is it's basically its own unit. You can utilize this as backup power. It has its own inputs, it has its own outputs, it has its own cooling fans. So that's something you don't see on extra batteries, as well as a cooling fan. Now this has its own 12 volt 30 amp out, so you can power up a lot of devices with that. Now this is only going to be DC only, but at least you have some functionality. You can run diesel heaters for emergency heat, and you can also power up like your cell phone and charge up other types of smart devices. And this accepts up to 400 watts of solar. It has its own charge controller built into it. So unlike other large companies out there, it's surprising that they don't make their batteries to be able to do something. They're just literally bricks, and you can't use them if the main unit fails, which is really one thing I do like about Pecron, is that again, they're listening to what their customers want. This is such a nice feature to be able to have in case you don't want to use this, or maybe you just want to use that, or if this happens to fail, at least you have something that works. So I'm glad that they made their batteries usable with some functionality, and you can charge it on its own and you don't use the main unit. Now, one thing Pecron did think about was also their connection cables. 90 degrees, it's pretty slim, so this doesn't stick out much, which doesn't take up extra room when you're storing this in tight places. Another thing too is that they thought about when you stack these batteries. You have multiple stacking configurations, which you cannot do usually with other brands. So you can put the batteries and stack them on top of each other. You can stack one behind it. You can stack 3 behind it. So this is actually pretty universal when it comes to utilizing these little cables, and they just simply plug right in. You plug it into the top unit, then you'll plug it into the bottom battery, and then from there you can daisy chain and again add up to 4 batteries total to the main unit. Now, I did do capacity testing at approximately a 0.2 C rate and not exactly favorable conditions. I was still able to pull 2,735 watt hours out of the unit for about 89% efficiency. I also did tons of DC testing, checking each port and doing 10-minute tests to make sure it would hold the load. Now, I did do the 10 amp test on the 12 volt socket, but one thing when I did overload testing, this is where I noticed something was a little bit wrong, as I was able to pull over 200 watts for a few minutes, and under normal circumstances this could melt several of these wires. So this is a firmware update that does need to be addressed. So this is something that I will let Pecron know, is that this should shut off at about 135 watts after a couple minutes. Now, something else Pecron did listen to was the ability to be able to solar charge and also AC charge at the same time. AC and DC charging can be very useful also while utilizing your AC inverter. So this is something that does work and is a great feature that sometimes some other power stations don't have. Now, I did set this up in my RV to do some simulations and load testing. Now, one thing I did find is that this easily fit into normal size RV storage compartments. Now, I did cover up my existing RV power unit, that way out of respect, and I get it, but look how much room I have back there. I could still put 3 more batteries, so I could use all 4 batteries, and those cables don't get in the way because it doesn't protrude past the actual unit. So I could have almost 15.4 kilowatt hours of energy back here with this whole system powering up my RV. And I mean, it would only be $5,600 plus tax, which you can't find that anywhere else. Okay, now check out this 30 amp AC cable. So you can plug this into a generator, say you had a Predator 3500 or a different type of generator. I'm just using this one as an example that has a 30 amp inlet. And so this can supercharge your whole system much faster than 1800 watts using the 20 amp cord. And so right now I have the app controlling it. I'm at about 60% charging, giving me, look at that, 2200 plus watts instead of putting it at full capacity. Now I could charge up to 3200 watts using this cable, but while using this cable you can't use the AC inverter, so that stays off. But that would have been cool if you could do both, because there's not really a power station like this type that can do both yet. There's really only one, but it's super expensive and most people are not going to buy it. So this gives you a ton of options. And with the dual solar input, this really does make it cool because I have 2 inputs, one over there as well, that could go in here. Plus you do have the extra right there if you wanted to throw maybe a small solar panel on the ground to kind of put it in the sun. But this is just an example. If you wanted to use it for your RV, this would really make kind of a cool option for you. But let me show you some other information here. Okay, so I turned the generator off, that way we could hear a little bit more, and just so I can show you, we're gonna see how clean this power is and what kind of loads we can get out of it. So let me show you my scope here real quick. And what we're looking for is a pure sine wave. So the RV is being ran off of the Pecron. And look at that. That's a nice uniform wave, nice and clean, pure sine wave. And there's just a little divot right there. That's probably where it's going through the transfer switch that I have on board from shore power to generator power. So that's probably the little divot right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to track some loads. We're going to turn on the AC unit. But first, here's a tip for you. I've been doing this and showing people this a long time. Turn off your AC converter. Do not have this on if you're using power stations, because you just create a loop. You're charging a battery with your battery, so it ends up being to where you're going to suck your power station dry while this thing is just running. Let your solar charge your batteries and not your Pecron or backup battery system, whatever you have in there. But let's go ahead and turn this on. I'll show you some information up on the screen as we do this. Okay, so this is a 15K AC unit. I do have a soft start on board, so we're going to go ahead and turn that on. The fan will come on first, and then the compressor will kick on after that. And you can see our wattage right now is 688 watts. Once the compressor kicks on, then we'll get the higher wattage. But some people also didn't want me skipping the video around, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it live. It's going to make the video a little bit longer. But what we're looking at is a nice pure sine wave. Small little dip there again, that is probably from the transfer switch. 121 volts right there, still at 60 hertz, and the AC is fully up and running, and we still have a nice clean sine wave. Look at that, nice and uniform is what we are looking for. Now right now it only says 1261 watts, but when this AC unit is fully hot outside and it's been running for a bit, you will see this pull up to 1850 watts when it's over 100 degrees and it's in the direct sun. So that just gives you an indication of how much one AC unit will pull. And you can see I'm on low. It's 90 degrees in the room. It's about 85, almost 90 outside. And it's supposed to be about 110 today. So I'm doing this at almost 10 o'clock in the morning. Now we're going to go ahead and turn on another AC unit, and you can see our wattage is still climbing, which again, it's going to go all the way up to probably 1800 here. We may not see it in this next 20 minutes, but we're going to go ahead and turn this one on. This is a 13.5K AC unit. I also have a soft start on board with this one as well because I don't really use generators much anymore, just solar. So we'll let this kick on for a few seconds, let the fan settle, then go ahead and turn on your low cool. And now we will give that about 10-15 seconds. The compressor will kick on and you'll see our output jump back up. And we'll go look at that sine wave again now that we have a load. Now let's take a look at that wave. We'll see if it jolts around at all, if we get some major distortion. And the other AC is now on, and look at that. Still nice and clean, and this is tracing the whole time. So I have this all in real time, and look at that, still nice and clean. So they're using a good inverter in this Pecron unit, which is nice, and our voltage still looks good. We're still at 121 volts. Roughly, it says 119 on the app, still at 59 hertz, and so looking good. Now, normally I'll run my front AC unit early in the morning and run that one all day and not the main one. This way I have plenty of overhead and I'm still able to come in with enough solar on top of my RV because there's 2200 watts up there, and you can see how much 2 AC units draw. This is with nothing else on, no refrigerator or anything. But now let's go ahead and overload it. We'll go ahead and do the microwave now. Check this out, warm up some coffee, bam. Now what we're gonna do is see if that wave gets distorted while being overloaded. So microwave's going, look at that, 4,000 watts. It's a 3,600 watt inverter, pinch of distortion there, but I have seen way worse. This is still pretty clean and our voltage is still good, so no voltage drop. Look at that, little bit of distortion, but that's acceptable. Still looking good, 4,000 watts. Wow, pretty impressive, still doing really good. Look at that. I've seen generators fail on this. So there we go. There's a 30-second run test, which typically you don't want to do that. But to be able to run the microwave and to be able to run both AC units, that's pretty impressive. I'm going to show you one more test now, just because if you are using this in an RV setup, you kind of get how this thing works. So I'm going to turn off the main AC, only run the front AC, then we're going to go outside and run a generator, and I'll show you how this works. Okay, so what's happening is that the front AC is running right now. The generator is plugged in using the 1800 watt charging cord, and the Pecron is currently in pass-through mode. So let me show you how this works. Is that top number up there, that's the generator providing 1850 watts, while 1126 watts are going to the AC. And sorry for the shakes, it is pretty bright out here and everything with the glare, but 1850 watts from the generator and 1140 going to the AC unit. So there's 700 watts roughly going to the Pecron unit, so it's being charged up. Pecron is not providing power to the trailer at all. The RV is actually powered from the generator at this point, and that's just in pass-through mode. Now this is also where solar would be handy, because then you could charge the Pecron unit much faster and also not use the generator as much. So this is one of the things that I'll do in the evening, is I'll run the generator for 3-4 hours maybe and let this kind of charge back up, and that way I can run my AC system off the battery bank at night and not disturb anyone. Now Pecron does have their own solar panels, which I was playing around and testing it. So if you look at my little meter here, this is a 300 watt panel. And right now it is about 100 degrees while I'm testing this, so the panel's really hot, so we're not going to get the best numbers, but not bad at 221 watts coming out of this. You can see our voltage is 40 volts. Now the conditions today are not great. We've had lots of fires, so there is some haze in the sky, not to mention the hot temperatures, but still getting 210 watts into the Pecron unit.
Okay, pros and cons, which you'll have to let me know as well, but cons first. So when it comes to the 12-volt socket, that's something that will need to be addressed, but again, a firmware update should be able to address that, that way you don't melt anything down. Now another con that another reviewer found was there is a little bit of noise on the inverter, but it's pretty minimal. If you're using ham radios or something like that, then maybe this unit won't be for you, but for 99% of the people out there, this is definitely something you can consider for everyday use for home backup, off-grid, RV, and more. And the other con I found, which really there's only 3, is that this is just personal for me.
I really would have liked to seen the 30 amp charging and being able to utilize the inverter at the same time. I get why you can't, because you would definitely overheat the unit with that much power going out and that much power coming in, but that would have been really cool because that would have been a first for anybody out there. Now, okay, pros. Well, there's a lot of them actually. You have dual solar inputs. You also have another input for solar charging if you have a small solar panel you want to deploy out on the ground. You have a 2400 watt input total for solar. You have a 3600 watt inverter. You can expand almost to 15.4 kilowatts by utilizing 4 other batteries. You also have the ability to stack this in different configurations, which those 90-degree cables are excellent. And then the price of this thing, you really can't compete with it at $1599 during launch, and again $1,100 for a battery. This is pretty impressive, and this is only going to help all of us in the long run because cheaper prices like this are going to make competition fierce. So you will see other companies having to compete. I think Pecron is going to do very well and be one of the leaders here soon if they keep listening to customers, listening to reviewers like us, and giving us the features we want. These guys will end up being one of the top 3 if they continue doing what they're doing and offering pricing like they are. So let me know what you think down in the comments. I have the discounts below if you guys want to take advantage of launch pricing, and I hope to see you guys in another video.